Hey everybody, what I've got for you this evening is a raw unboxing of X-Transbots' newest release, which is MX-47 RON, which is their version of a Masterpiece scale Ironhide. I got this particular piece from Agabus. They received it super early. I actually ordered this guy on Friday, September 13th, and had him at my doorstep this afternoon, September 16th, Monday. So just a couple days for shipping. Was really excited to be able to get this guy. Still a little bit iffy about the initial Ratchet release. There were some things that I wasn't too terribly crazy about it, like proportions, things like that. But overall, pretty happy with these guys. So we're going to go ahead and get this guy opened. And see what we got. Again, this guy was on Agabus was $172.95, so pretty good price, especially with free shipping, and I had a few points to be able to redeem to get a little bit of a discount on it. So overall, super happy with the price. So let's go ahead and get this guy out of the box. And one thing I realized was when I did the unboxing video for their version of Ratchet, kind of had the camera a little bit off center, and so it was really difficult to see a few of the things. So I'm going to try to keep this guy in center here so you can see it really well and kind of see a comparison that I'll do with the Takara MP version. So we'll go ahead and get this guy open. So we see the box. It's got some pretty cool box art on it. It goes really well with the Ratchet box art. You can kind of put them together and have, you know, a single scene from the '86 movie. So really cool as always. They've got really good box art. So let's get this guy open. So again, it looks like he's packaged very similar to how Ratchet was packaged. We've got the top tray, doesn't really have anything in it. We've got a skis here from that episode. The sled, again, which is pretty cool. I really wasn't sure what to expect out of the sled with this. I didn't know if it would be similar to the Takara version, which is just kind of a flat piece of plastic that really is just holding accessories for the most part. But this really harkens back to the original G1 toy with the wheels and treads on the bottom and everything. And so we've got our instructions and a card, and we've got a couple decals, and this is similar to like what we got with the Ratchet release that had the life signs on it. I don't know how crazy I am about the idea of doing this, because when you put these decals on, it covers up the seams and the pieces that fold on the chest, so it hinders transformation a little bit. I've heard a couple people mention online that these stickers are reusable. They really don't look like that to me, but I guess we'll just have to see. And I'll tell you what, let's get into the bottom box of accessories. So as with Ratchet, there's a whole lot of accessories with this guy. We've got the little metal detector, the backpack, an extra head, some extra faces, weapons, rocket launcher, some really cool blast effects. As you can see, it's got another set of hands. If I'm not mistaken, there was an episode where he could shoot water or something out of his fingertips. So that kind of recreates that. I can't remember exactly what it was in that episode, but it was something similar to that. And then we've got a red head here. I think that's supposed to be a reference to his appearance in Marvel Comics. And then if we look at the back, we've got a couple of faces. So it's really jam-packed with a lot of accessories. And really, there's a lot of heft to them. They don't feel like cheap accessories. They don't feel like an afterthought. So let's put those off to the side. And then let's go ahead and get him unbagged. So really similar to the Ratchet version, obviously. Nearly identical mold, with the exception of the waist here. It's a little bit different of a waist. Again, I don't know why they did this, why they put the QC decal on the front, on his leg right there. Typically, I like to keep the QC decals on mine just to kind of keep it in as close to new condition as possible, and that's a little bit unsightly. Again, the bottom of his feet, I think I mentioned this in the Ratchet video. They really lay flush with the bottom of his feet, so it kind of concerns me about standing him up and whether or not over time that might wear some of that paint off. I really thought that these would be recessed or somehow turned to the inside, but obviously they don't. So, really good looking figure. One thing I will say, and I think I mentioned it before, I'm not crazy about the proportions in the chest, at least. It looks a little bit big to me, but then when I went back and referenced the animation models, it really is kind of like that. The legs seem super small in comparison to the chest, but the chest, just the shape of it, just doesn't quite do it for me. I don't know, if we look at them in comparison to the Takara version, you can see that the lines there are significantly different, and that angle is a little bit different from the animation model. But when you look at them from the front, it doesn't look as stark of a difference. But here's what they look like kind of side by side. I really say that this mold is growing on me. At first, I was a little bit skeptical of whether or not these guys were going to permanently replace Ratchet and Ironhide as my official Masterpiece figures, but I really think they will. I really like him. It cleans up really well. The back looks good. Now, one thing that did concern me with the Ratchet figure is if we look at the ab crunch, right here where you can do the waist swivel, one thing that really concerns me is if you look at this, it's kind of connected by a chain link of pieces here. And when you try to turn the waist, it creates some flex in this piece that connects to his chest up at the top. And I'm really fearful that over time, if you're not careful and kind of turning the whole thing instead of grabbing him from the top half and turning him, that it might put some stress on that plastic and break eventually. I will say that this guy's waist doesn't stick in great. That was one thing that I noticed about the Ratchet version, was that it really didn't clip in there. And if you can see, there's a little tab here and a little slot there in the waist. This piece is die cast and it's supposed to clip down in there. Not super secure, but I mean, it's definitely workable. But overall, a really good looking figure. The head on here is very similar to one of the alternate heads that you get with Ratchet. One thing I want to point out is the default head that was on Ratchet had a lot more of an upwards tilt for the head, so you could kind of have him at a lunge kind of pose and have his head looking up more. But with the smaller head here, you don't get as much of that up. So that's one thing that I definitely noticed it. But this smaller head sculpt seems to make him look a little bit more proportional. And that's actually one thing that I did with the Ratchet figure, was I switched out that larger head that came on right out of the box with the smaller head. So overall, it's a really cool figure. I'm not going to do a transformation just because Meng Motion has a really good transformation video out there using the Ratchet version of this figure. But overall, really pleased with them. Again, you know, just showing you kind of a side-by-side with the Takara version of Ratchet. Really similar in size, nearly identical. He's just a hair taller than the Takara version. I really like the fact that he doesn't have the side hip skirts, or as I call them, the gun holsters. That's what they look like to me. He's really cleaned up really well around the hip. So super pleased with that. So I think that's it for now. Again, really cool figure. I think I would definitely recommend it. Still waiting for the Fans Toys or Fantastic Model version to come out and see what those guys have in store for us. And I appreciate you looking.